Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hi, I'm Rob Charney with Old Guy Tech TV, and here we are today on Tech Thursday, and we've got some different articles and different things that we would like to share with you today. And I'm going to start right off the bat with an apology to Snopes. Turns out that I fell for a gimmick, and what I reported on last week was not true. It turns out that Snopes is innocent of the claim of being liberal bent.
Liar.
The actual story where supposedly Snopes is owned by a flaming liberal with a partisan bias is not true. It is owned by a husband and wife, and the wife is a Canadian, by the way. She can't even vote in the United States. And there's
they could still have a liberal bent, all because they're owned by a husband and wife. Doesn't really mean anything.
No. But let me finish. Second, the charge of partisanship, I can't even say again, I can't talk today, is laid without evidence, and at no time have the Mickelsons publicly stated a political preference or affiliation or expressed support for any particular party or candidate. So they've never taken a position whatsoever. They've stayed neutral all the way through here. And
themselves or the site? Because it's
both.
That's two different.
The site is them, and so no, the site has not taken a position, nor have they. And also the idea that George Sonozo was giving them millions of money is also not true.
Sonozo or Soros?
I'll say Sonozo, but it really is Soros.
Okay.
Maybe I need another job. I'll give up here. Anyway, that's mine. I'm sorry, Snopes. I'm glad we got it true. We can still go to you no matter what.
Yeah, don't make me slap you. Gonna slap the happy into you.
I'm trying to be happy today, okay? I'm doing my best. This is for you. My worry is that you're not really watching, so I need you to watch and listen to me flub up and make mistakes. And it seems like the more mistakes I make, the better you guys like it. So that's fine. I'll make more mistakes. Anyway, once again, I apologize to Snopes. It is not true. They, from what we're seeing, and the pundits on both sides of the liberal and conservative side of the fence both say that they have taken a neutral position on most things. So thank you, Snopes. Thanks for being there for us. So that's my apology, and now we'll move on to Jonathan.
Okay, my first story is, excuse me. Here's the headline: U.S. agency calls for disabling phones while driving. The NTSB, which I think is the National Something and Safety Board?
National Transportation
Safety Board. Something like that, right?
It is that. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of advocates for eliminating texting and driving at the same time. I think in California it's illegal. There's a number of states that actually using a cell phone while driving is illegal, like physically picking up the handset. What this is actually calling for is removing the ability to even use wireless or Bluetooth.
Yeah, I heard that, although there's some... it's a reason... From what I understand, the results of gathering all the deaths and accidents that have happened that are supposedly to be blamed on Bluetooth is inconclusive. And there is no proof that using your telephone, as far as talking goes, is any more distracting than sitting there talking to your passenger. However, it's texting that seems to be the difficult point. And I do not see how somebody could text and operate your car properly.
I've seen people do it. I'm not one of them. I know people who are really good at texting and driving on like standard feature phones. Smartphones, I'm not sure if the same person is good.
Right.
But when you have the standard number pad, I mean, if you get to know it, I mean, it's just a matter of hitting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3. You know, you memorize the patterns and the numbers.
I understand that there are people that text so much that they don't even have to look at the keys anymore.
I can't do that.
That would be the exception, not the rule, I guarantee you.
Well, I can't look at...
I can barely look at my screen and do it, let alone
Yeah.
You know, especially since I don't have a physical touchpad on my particular phone, it's very difficult.
Yeah, I can't do it and actually read. I mean, I could, for one, I still hunt and peck on my cell phone and my iPhone.
Right.
I couldn't do it just because I want to look at the screen. So that's my problem. I do, however, hate you have the fact in California here, you're required by law, thanks to our Congress critters, to make it having to use the handset. I personally, that drives me nuts. You can't use it. Because for me, it's easier just to go like this and go, hello, I'm fine, I can hold a drink. Never had an issue.
Right.
This thing, what they want to do, is if I've read this article right, is what they want to do is make it, what's the term? Oh, so when you drive, they want to make it so you can't use the phone unless it's an emergency. Like somehow.
Yeah, they're saying not at all, but no matter what.
They want to ban all
right,
phone use,
right.
which to me, I'm assuming they're using GPS, which is going to even drive me even more.
Right.
I have a conspiracy theory on that too. They use the GPS knowing that if you're going faster than humanly possible, so I'm assuming 5-10 miles an hour, somehow the phone completely shuts off. So I'm assuming it's going to turn the phone off. Because the only way to stop somebody using it is by physically turning the phone off. Or have the
I wonder if there is a remote capability to do that.
Well, there is free apps from T-Mobile's Drive Smart Stop Texting. It doesn't actually say what it does, but I'm assuming what it is it's some sort of way when the thing's moving, it stops it from texting or doing various functions. I know that the Android phones have some sort of car mode.
Yes, there is a car mode. I have that on my phone.
You know, basically, so they want to stop you from driving. I mean, talking when you're driving. I mean, that bugs me.
Right.
That personally, because I have no problem doing it, never have.
I don't think the evidence shows...
Texting, on the other hand, I cannot do.
Exactly.
I do not have the capability to do that.
I don't think the evidence shows that talking on your phone, particularly if we're using Bluetooth or hands-free, is any more dangerous than talking to a passenger that's in your car. But texting obviously is a problem, and I can agree with that. But here's my problem. Are we going to continuously throw more and more and more laws into things and protect people from their own foolishness? Yes, it's a shame if somebody gets in an accident texting and they kill somebody else, but they could have a flat tire go and all of a sudden veer into that same person. I mean, stuff happens, okay? And...
So here's
yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut in. Here's my two conspiracy theories. And one, this is actually part of it is any behavior by a driver that distracts from keeping their eyes on the road, whether it's conversation, eating or drinking, smoking, tending a child, or any other activities, including the use of a portable electronic device that does not include safe driving, should not be engaged by the drivers. Here's my theory. What is it?
We're doing good. Conspiracy theory.
What he
it's
said.
One of those days, yeah.
But my guess is I can totally see it at them point saying, okay, you can no longer eat in your car, can no longer drink.
Right.
You're not allowed. Somehow you can't. They're going to make some sort of strange law that you can't talk.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, that's a little far-fetched.
They have brought up the eating in the car situation.
Yeah.
That has been brought up before.
And no radio.
Yeah, well.
I can't wait to see if they say no radio, because if you want a lobby if you want to see a lobby that finally gets to good use, get the RIAA and the radio stations after them. See, the drinking, eating, I generally don't do unless it's a candy bar or one of those like instant meal things. Soft drinks, no problem. I can do the whole one-hand thing. Never had an issue, ever. I've been driving for a decade or more, and I've never had an issue, ever.
Yeah. I agree with you. So we agree that eating and drinking and listening to the radio and maybe talking to your passenger is not a problem if you are still paying attention to your driving. But texting definitely is a problem. So I would say that texting is probably something that we shouldn't do. My question is, do we continuously outlaw everything? I mean, at what point do we run out of making more laws? This is driving me crazy. We're outlawing everything. Don't make more laws. Get more sense. It's just nuts.
Okay, here's something that I completely, utterly missed when I read the article the first time. I don't know how. But it talks about the Drive Smart basically as it's a management for incoming calls and messages. It initiates on a certain speed, I'm assuming. So I don't know if you're going a certain speed, if it automatically cuts everybody to voicemail. I'm not
I
sure.
see.
I'm assuming it does that. I'm also
so they use your
assuming
GPS data
that
to track how fast you're going.
this is my guess, but it does say something similar, but I'm kind of reading in between the lines just a tad.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming what it's doing, it's either using GPS or it's using cell tower location. You know, if you get in between a certain number of cell towers, they can locate you via a certain number of feet. Some phones actually do that for GPS.
Right.
So I'm assuming that's what they do. This is in a number part. My second part of the conspiracy theory is, kind of tracking you. I can totally see the government. Okay, this is a little whack job, tinfoil hat time. But I could totally see you. Okay, they're saying that. Okay, John's talking on a cell phone. It's going a certain mile an hour. Ooh, look, he's going over the limit. Let's do this, or let's do this, because we already all are. If you have a smartphone, it's already the greatest spying device in history. It all comes with a GPS, all has the possibility to listen in with carrier IQ and a few other things that you do. We really don't know what could happen with our phone in the future. They could easily, tag John or Rob or whoever, say, we don't like him, or let's track him, get into the cell phone, and now they know where we are 24/7.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of a crackpot, but...
So, let me understand something, since I do not own an iPhone, and I do not own an iPhone 4S.
You own a smartphone, though.
I own a smartphone, but I do not own a 4S, which has Siri, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, the argument that's being made with the people that have that phone is Siri is able to read your text messages.
I don't know anything about Siri. I don't know anybody who has a 4S, but I'm assuming it does that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming when they get it better, you'll actually be able to dictate it text messages. Well, I don't know enough about it, true enough.
I haven't messed one on it either, but apparently that's the capability that it has.
And in theory,
that's the argument that the texters are now saying, hey, you know what? We don't have to physically text. We just talk to text. So I don't know where that lays. I may try. I have a Droid X2. I'm going to try the app and see how it works for texting. Might be interesting.
Reading something earlier that mentioned that Google wants to come out with a Siri, not replacement, something to battle Siri one-on-one. Google something versus Siri.
Yeah, I'm sure they're
a competitor.
Right.
So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. I don't know. I mean, this is just like the second part of the second story I have is another issue. It's something that bugs me, but let's get to yours before I go on another diatribe.
Well, does your second story fall into the same vein?
Yes and no. It's about something we talked about before. It's the Stop Online Piracy Act, or SOPA.
Well, let's go to mine.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll be right back. I've got one that I think is kind of interesting. The FAA approved the use of iPads in cockpits of American Airlines airplanes. So in any of the American Airlines, the pilots are able to use iPads instead of their 30 pounds of charts, and that's a replacement.
Question.
Yes.
Are they allowed to on takeoff? Because
yes.
if they're allowed to, we should be allowed to.
There you go. So this was my point. My point is...
sorry for stealing your thunder.
Yeah, that's right. My point was, okay, now if the pilots in the cabin of the control area of the airplane are able to use their iPads and have it on, why the hell do we have to turn ours off?
See, this is the first time in history I'm ever going to say go Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
I mean, he's innocent, so I say free Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, the problem with that is I think Alec Baldwin thinks he's better than the rest of us.
Well, no,
that's the problem I have with that one.
I'll agree. Generally, I think you're right. Here's my thing where I think he was right. He's like everybody else. The plane got delayed. Few other things happen. Most people are like, well, I'm bored. Or if you're a businessman, you're like, crap. I've got a few emails I need to get out. Let me get a few minutes. Write his, do whatever on your smartphone. And because he's famous, this lady says, turn it off, when everybody else around him is possibly using their phone. I don't know this. This is all conjecture on my part.
I heard that the announcement was made to turn off your electronics, and everybody else had other than him.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, that could have been, from what I've heard, which could be the first time the story came out. I haven't read up to it. I've heard that was like 10 minutes ago, and it was still going and going and going. They were still sitting there.
He was playing some online game.
It's called Words with Friends.
Okay, whatever.
Which for people with spelling impaired like me does not help.
Yeah, me either. So, but the point was he was asked nicely numerous times to turn off his phone.
He says, his comment was, After the announcement was made, people were sitting there, nothing was happening, other people brought out their phone. Granted, it's kind of, what other people doing what I'm doing, then I'm following them. But, I don't know. There's still no proof that any of this actually interferes.
Well, so back to my point is it's now more
You're
like...
welcome, by the way.
What?
I got you back to your story.
Yeah. Well, my point is that it's more like do as I say, not as I do. Because now if American Airlines is allowing their pilots to have, and they're talking about multiple iPads, by the way, because they want to have a redundant system. So they'll have a main iPad and a redundant iPad that's got the same material in case one crashes the other. So they're all going to have a minimum of 4 iPads in the cockpits on at all times. And somehow I don't see any American Airlines planes falling out of the sky because their iPads are on.
Sounds like a good time to be an Apple stockholder. If if they're going to start buying 4 iPads and a minimum for their airplanes, if it's an overseas and there's multiple pilots, sounds like a great deal if the airliners are going to start doing that.
So they're going to make, the airlines are going to buy thousands and thousands of these iPads. So it's great for Apple. Good for Apple. I'm happy for them. But why is it, FAA, why is it that I have to turn mine off, yet they can keep theirs on? There is no proof that an iPad has ever interrupted the flight controls of an airplane whatsoever. And I don't care if you're going to interrupt or not, but I'm going to tell you right now, it pisses me off.
I'm hearing a Rob rant coming on.
Yes. Rob's ranting already.
So I want to see if I can talk him into doing a whole Rob's rant on that.
I'm ready right now. Come on, FAA.
Okay, well, you finish with your story so you get mine?
Boy, I'm in a mood. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, if you live in the United States of America, this Thursday, which for recording is tomorrow, they're going to vote on SOPA, the Stop Online Piracy Act. And just a little information after, Wikipedia and a few other sources, it was actually proposed, from what I've read, by a representative of Republican of Texas, who, I think is a schlemiel now. It's Lamar, Lamar Smith, and a bipartisan group of 12 individual co-sponsors to do SOPA. And this is what I've read. I've heard some pretty interesting stuff on this. What it says, if you run a VPN and say part of it's overseas or part of it's in another location, if somebody does something that is pirating, they can shut down the entire VPN. If there's a content on a website that they don't like that allegedly is copyright violation, they can shut down the entire website. If you want to get some really interesting reading on it, I'd recommend going to the Wikipedia article. This is what I have here. I'd read it to you, but it's quite thick if you can't see it. I mean, it's a pretty thick piece of paper. And the other interesting thing is, I don't know if anybody's heard of it's OpenDNS. It's an alternative to your It's an alternative DNS to your ISPs. Like Google has their own DNS. OpenDNS is supposed to be a little more secure. And this guy his really comment and he's one of the very few people who have unique ability to comment about this, since he's the president or owner or whatever of an actual DNS system. I mean, this is separate from your ISP. And his comment, like 1,000 other people's, this is dangerous. This can completely destroy, the internet. I mean, if there's something you don't like, they can take you down without, by the way, from what I've read, for any reason. I mean, they don't have to contact you and say, this is what we see infringing. They can just say, boom, you're off.
Right. There's no due justice on websites.
Yeah, no, none at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, they're doing it already, and one of the things I was reading about is the fact that they'll take down a website right now, if they feel that there's a website that's pirating or whatever it may be, they'll take it down and actually stick a message up saying that this site has been taken down by the federal government, whatever arm, and put it in its place.
Oddly enough, it's ICE.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they have the ability to do that. Here's a thing I also read. I wish I brought the article because I just remembered about it now. I don't remember the group's name, but they're actually saying we don't see ICANN as being responsible for the internet. Which, by the way, is ICANN runs the domain names, runs the I think the backbone of the INS of the internet, doesn't it? The
yes.
DNS.
Yes.
They're the main people.
They control the domain names.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is possible not only to create the Great Firewall of America, like they have in China, but to completely destroy the internet. I mean, make a thing here, completely fracture it.
Right.
By doing this. And the thing I wanted to bring up, though, is I think this is important, is OpenDNS isn't pro-piracy. They don't support it, they don't like it, but they're pro-internet.
Right.
They think, from what I've read, is there's got to be another solution without doing blanket, we don't like you. I think it comes down to, it's like the old ruler, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and there's no checks and balances in this.
Yeah.
And there's really not any today.
It's kind of scary, all these government agencies trying to go after the internet for infringement, so to speak,
Exactly.
or, whatever it may be. The internet is free speech. If an individual has decided to put on his website pirated material or material that wasn't his, then there should be a due process system in place to see that that's taken down. But the arbitrary wave of a hand, and I don't even know if this is done by a judge. I have no idea how any of this is handled. Is this handled by some guy sitting in a booth somewhere in a government office
to be completely
saying,
honest, I haven't read that. I
yeah,
mean, it's probably
it makes you
there.
wonder who makes that decision, right?
It could be there, honestly, but I haven't read anywhere what it talks about.
I've never heard anything about a judge or anything actually, doing this.
Yeah,
yet.
exactly.
I've heard it's just been done. So there is no due process, and I'll tell you what, we're missing it. Once again, here we go with our free speech. It's going to be attacked.
And here's the thing, it also says it creates a tremendous amount of liability for ISPs, because they also, kind of like in Europe, they want ISPs to track it. Like, if you had to deal with this when you were an ISP,
oh, yeah, it would have been
imagine
nightmare.
the headache.
No, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare.
And here's the thing. I mean, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I don't know if any of you, how many of you listening, are not American, but in theory, allegedly, this is supposed to be, like, the number one amendment, is free speech. The number one is supposed to be we have, the ability to speak our mind.
Right.
This limits that because, in my opinion, in theory, maybe in practice, that if you say something they don't like, they can shut you down.
Right.
I've heard multiple things in recently that this is kind of what it amounts to is, this is ruining our chance, our freedom of speech. And, as much as I disagree with Occupy Wall Street, hey, I support the right to protest. I might not like it, which I don't have an opinion about, truly. But, there's all this stuff limiting at this. Then I don't know. It just gets to be the point where I think it is American, which is supposedly a nation where we can say anything, unless it infringes
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Unless it infringes on somebody else's rights, you can do what you want.
And let's take it a step further. If it actually infringes on somebody's copyrighted material, I want to see some kind of due process. I want to see a judge go in front of a judge or somebody where it gets a bit of a hearing so that it isn't just the government waving their hand and saying, okay, you're down.
Yeah, and I have no problem with the thing like, I didn't know it was copyrighted, because sometimes it's pretty damn hard to find. Or have it revise the copyright for when things are actually out of date. Make it a way, or if the copyright holder is no longer in business, there's got to be a way so you can find out this information. Because there's some stuff that's, the company has been sold, and how are you supposed to track down if it's still copyrightable? Or
yeah, exactly.
Like some of those old video games from the arcade games from 60s, 70s, and 80s, the main cabinets. Some of the stuff they use is so old that the company's been out of business for 20 years.
Yeah, but the copyright is still there.
Yeah.
Although, is there not a limit?
As far as I know, the copyright's like 100 some odd years.
Yeah, it's
thanks
a long
to Disney.
time. Yeah, it's a very long time.
From what I've heard, they called it the Mickey Mouse because every time Disney's characters came up to the copyright was about to run out, Disney said, "Wait, and they spent a lot of money legislating it, and then they found out, wait, we can trademark these."
Right.
So, because there's really no like Alexandre Dumas' Three Musketeers, it's no longer in copyright.
Right.
Hasn't so for 100 some odd years, I think. There's no, I forget what is it called. It's open. It's not open source. There's a specific term for articles that are no longer in copyright.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I can't think of it.
So there's a bunch of classic books. You can go to like projectgutenberg.org, I believe, and download classic literature.
Right.
and that's no longer there anymore. I mean, that for us, there's, 100 years from now, I highly doubt there's going to be something for, for generations of our family down the line saying, hey, look what we found. I doubt that's going to be there.
Yeah.
The company's going to be gone. Everybody's going to be gone. But for some reason, there's still going to be a lame copyright that they're going to violate.
Right. Okay, so we've got some problems out there in internet world. You guys have got to step up to the plate and make sure that your opinion's known. I believe this is a First Amendment issue in the United States. I believe that there's no due process on the decisions of closing down blanketly sites that somebody in the government may consider offensive, might consider it a copyright infringement. Something's got to be done. But my biggest thing is keep your freaking hands off of the internet. Don't keep adding more junk and laws and other things onto it. Let it be. It will control itself. Pretty simple. Well, I'm going to wrap up. So I covered the Snopes issue with just beforehand here, and apologize to Snopes. Facebook's got a little bit of egg on their face also, because they were blocking links to Snopes on Facebook. If you had something that you wanted to link, you had a story.
They were.
Yeah. Facebook actually did.
What did they say the reason was it? Because the thing they popped up with when I tried to repost the story was about spam.
Yeah. Well, what that says here is that the message that would pop up was the content you're trying to share includes a link that has been blocked for being spammy or unsafe.
Well, the thing is, how do they do it? Do they do like Google does and have some sort of automatic algorithm?
So what happens here is 2 months ago, Facebook partnered with the web security gateway software company called WebSense to check links its users posts for malware. Either WebSense or Facebook's immune system. They have their own system called FIS.
So my guess, it got blacklisted on either side of it, and it came up.
Yeah, and it says, too, that it's possible that more than just Snopes web pages now are being blocked. And also what's happening is some of these sites that have these links, they could have possibly been hacked, and there could be a malware in it. We faced that PDF malware that came out last week sometime, and that was out pretty covered up. Not too many people talked about it, but it was pretty prevalent for a good day before the signature database for the antivirus programs came out. So that was an issue too.
Part of the reason why it wasn't brought up is because Adobe software is so open.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that was like, what was it, Windows and Microsoft security researchers actually said Microsoft at this point isn't the problem. Third-party companies are, like Adobe.
Right.
Companies that don't patch their software a lot are now the issue.
Right.
Whether you agree with it or not, Microsoft, I think, is fairly safe. I mean, there's still holes, but they're fairly safe because they patch it at least once a month, and they're fairly quick on zero-day files. On,
I wonder how quickly they their own software essentials, security essentials, responded to that PDF hack, because it was more malware than virusware, and so I'm not sure. That would have been that's an interesting question.
I generally don't open PDFs that I don't create, so I don't know.
Well, because of the part of the businesses that I do, we use tons of PDFs, and we had no choice, and one got passed down from a user to one of the sites that I'm admin on, and it was actually there. We did eventually catch it. I had nothing to do with it. It was just a pass-through, and unfortunately, there was no signature database yet for it, so none of the antivirus programs caught it. It took a malware program to finally pop up and say, "Hey, there's something wrong with this," and then it picked up.
I think this would be a good thing for being able to sandbox software. I mean, obviously, say if there's something that's obviously been some sort of vulnerability down the line, I think the user should have the ability to sandbox a program. Say, okay, I've had issues with so-and-so, let's sandbox this so it's in its own little thing that it's not going to spread to the rest of the system. Right. There may be a way to do it. I don't know how to.
Yeah, I could see that just really, really slowing everything down. You start talking about sandboxing, you start talking about you want to post your website, you want your content up right now, it could be up a week later. Because,
well, yeah. Well, I meant on the person's hardware itself. I mean, on your computer. I think there should be a way for a user, granted this is probably more of a geek level, higher level thing, is to be able to say, I don't trust insert thing here. Let's sandbox it. Let's do something so it's a low level program. It won't be able to spread. Something. I don't know if something like that is possible.
Well, just look at all the millions of dollars you could make if you could invent that. So we'll leave that for your idea.
If there is a way to do something like that, please let us know. It's info at the theogt.tv.
Yep.
It'd be quite interesting if there's a way to do that.
Yep. If any of you are interested in writing us, we'd appreciate it. We're running out of time for our Christmas giveaway gift. We were attempting to give away a couple of Android tablets that we have, and we're going to work on it. It could end up going into January, but we're going to have a gift for you, and it may take a little work on your part to look at all our videos and find out where our hidden question is going to be. But we literally have 2 Android tablets that we're going to give away. We hope to give it away for Christmas. But we'll try to get back to you soon and see if anybody even takes notice, but we're going to try. Anyway, this is Rob Charney for Jonathan Charney. Thank you for Tech Wednesday. This is Old Guy Tech TV. I'm Rob Charney. See you next time. Hi, this is Rob Charney with Old Guy Tech TV, and I want to talk to you today about Windfall. Windfall has 2 outstanding offers for you to take advantage of. They have their 12-week business-only ad for just $60. That's just $5 a week. You're not going to find a better deal anywhere. Windfall has a rewards program like no other, a real windfall. Give us 5 and your ad is free. So refer 5 people or businesses and you get your ad for free. Visit Windfall on the web at www.shopthewindfall.com or call 530-621-1698. Everybody needs a windfall. Thank you, Windfall. See you soon.